Good evening and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Olivia Korman and I'm joined by Fenstermaker, Chris Lemmo, and Joe Callahan. And we're here to break down all the surprises, both good and bad, in the NFL this season. Chris, I'll start with you. Who has surprised you the most in a positive way?
Well, I got to say it's America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Dallas, last year they really disappointed, and really they have for the most of the decade. But that offense was always going to be elite, and this year they continued to show that, as they did last year. And that's not really where the improvement is. Last year, through 5 games, they had 163 points. This year, 170. The big difference is really the defense, and it's led by Penn State's very own Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. They have come up huge. I know they're still giving up a good amount of yardage, but they've given up, I think it was 7 fewer touchdowns so far this year compared to this time last year. So the defense has really stepped up, and that's what's made them into what I think could be a contender for the NFC Championship this year.
Well, Chris, if we're going to start talking about teams that have done really well, let's start with the only undefeated team that's left, the Arizona Cardinals. They're 5-0 for the first time since 1974, and the big reason why, Kyler Murray. He's got 12 total touchdowns on the year, 9 passing, 3 rushing. He's a dual threat guy that's been able to get it all done for the Cardinals, and if this keeps going, Arizona could walk away with an MVP, a Lombardi, and a lot more. So Arizona really firing all cylinders. They've taken down 2 back-to-back NFC West opponents, which is one of the hardest divisions in all of football. Arizona's on a hot streak right now, and it looks like they're going to keep it going.
Yeah, when you talk about surprising teams, we knew this team was going to be good, but not as special as they are, is the Los Angeles Chargers. Herbert is electric, pun intended. He's the only QB in NFL history within the first 2 seasons to have 10 or more 300-plus passing yard games. And I can sit here and talk about Justin Herbert all day for hours and hours. But what mostly surprises me is how well the defense has been able to defend the pass. They're top 10, and they've played teams that are obviously juggernauts in the passing game, including the Dallas Cowboys, who are their only loss. But it took Keenan Allen falling in the end zone and a really bad reffing outing to put them up to that loss. They should be undefeated. And they're winning games in a multitude of different ways. Even when the defense doesn't do well, Justin Herbert comes out and does win that 40-point game. It's actually the first time that a team has put up 40 points and 0 turnovers in a loss. So they're beating you in all different ways. Justin Herbert is a real deal, and I expect them. Their schedule is only getting easier, so I expect them to go even more and even farther in that.
Those are all good teams that have been making a positive impact this season. Now let's turn to the flip side. Chris, which team has surprised you the most in a negative way?
I definitely got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know, look, they're only 2-3, and there's more teams out there that have been that are worse off, but I think they've been the most disappointing. Now, Andy Reid's squad, they have the offense rolling per usual. The only thing there is Mahomes has thrown 6 picks. He threw 6 all season last year, so you'd really like to see him cut down on that. But really his problem is they're so reliant on the passing game because they can't really have an established running game. I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been decent. I'd like to see him be featured a bit more. The biggest problem there is the defense. They don't have any cornerbacks in my mind. There, I think, could be a target for Stephon Gilmore, possibly, from the Patriots. I know his contract is a lot, and I do think he's kind of on the backside of his prime, but they desperately need help at safety and at corner, and I think that could be a target there. That's what they're going to have to do at the deadline if they're going to come back and win the AFC West, which right now looks like one of the most competitive divisions in the league.
Yeah, the Stephon Gilmore to the Kansas City Chiefs could be something that's pretty interesting, but let's go even worse. Let's talk about the even worse teams in the NFL. When you think of the Lions, you think of this terrifying animal that's scary and just is going to devour everything. The Detroit Lions are the polar opposite of that. This team is 0-5 this season. They've lost their last 9 games dating back to last year, and quite frankly, they're not getting anything done offensively. Jared Goff comes in from the Rams, looks average. Matthew Stafford goes out and looks like an MVP candidate in LA. And honestly, TJ Hawkinson, the main offensive weapon, he's been held under 50 yards receiving and out of the end zone every game since week 2. So the Lions really not getting much done, and their schedule doesn't get much easier. And what's really surprising and shocking, if you want to go in that angle, is the fact that they've been in a lot of close games. They've lost 3 games this year by 1 score or less, 2 games by game-winning field goals late. They just had a lead against Minnesota, 37 seconds left, blow it. So the Lions have really fallen out in a couple of short games, and that's been the difference between maybe a handful of wins and an 0-5 start, and they're not looking like they're going to crawl out of the basement anytime soon.
I respect those takes, and I'm going to bring it closer to home. Obviously, what, in my opinion, the most surprising to me was the Chiefs, but I'm going to take it to New York. New York football has not been great over the last couple of years, and let's actually take it to the team that actually has expectations, because let's be honest, the Jets don't have any expectations. It's the New York Football Giants. The media has been talking about them being horrible since their winning season in 2016, where we all know the boat game, but we were talking about them being close to the rebuild of the Dolphins when they got Brian Flores in for their new head coaching job. They got Tua, and the next season they then went 10-6. And then last season, they had a terrific defense, top 12, I believe, cracking top 10. And we were coming into this season when they had Kenny Golladay. You have Saquon Barkley returning. You have a revitalized offense. And the defense had more skill than it did last year. The defense completely disintegrated. It's bottom tier, about 20th ranked at about every category. And I could go on and on about the front office, and I could go on and on about every decision that they make. But the one reason why I think that the New York Giants have been putrid this year and prior years is because of our special guest, Jason Garrett. The reason why he's in an Odell Giants jersey is because his playbook is stuck in 2014. There is absolutely no motion. There's no pre-planning before the snap. And it's just simple, run it down on second and long, trying to get at all anything. Your O-line cannot run the ball. They're not helping. The defense isn't helping them either. But the main reason why is Jason Garrett's trash can of a playbook and play design. Not even the play calling, but play design.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what other surprises are in store for us for the rest of the season. For Eric Fenstermaker, Joe Callahan, and Chris Lemmo, I'm Olivia Korman, and thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.